Welcome back to Garage Hooning, where the Daytona's broken. Broken due to my own fault. We're going to get into that a little bit later. The old Daytona here hit her 5,000 mile mark, so I figured we'd go in and do some maintenance on it. And in the process of doing that, I broke it. Don't worry though, we have parts on the way, but we got a lot to do today. Most of it involves cleaning up my mess. Oh, and if we take a look over here, if I'm not in the shot, but the mini tractor is gone. Someone came and picked it up. Took a little while to sell that, but she is gone. But in the process of getting rid of that, I did actually keep the old motor. So we got Big Blue here. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I would like to put it in a mini bike, but I think that's going to be on the back burner for a little while because getting this thing fixed and going is #1 priority. I got everything's on order. Quite a bit of it's already arrived, and I've kind of done some things to it already that I wanted to do. We'll get into that. We'll talk about that a little bit. The main problem is the fuel pump. I will take 50% of the blame. I'm going to blame the other 50% on Triumph and their engineers because it makes me feel better about myself. But I broke it. We'll get into that later, like I said, on how I broke it. What you need to do to be careful so you don't make the same mistake I did, because the parts to fix this are $500 from Europe. Yeah, not cool. Apparently this is like the only Triumph model that uses this exact fuel pump, where they run the same one on a bunch of other ones. Then you can find cheap aftermarket ones everywhere, but not for this guy. Oh, and also we have the old show in here because I think we may have a boost leak. So we're going to try and diag that in a little bit too. But I think #1 is I'm going to go through and straighten all of this up. I've got Daytona parts here. I've got them here. And I also have them back there on that whole shelf. There's Daytona bodywork and parts everywhere. There's tools all over my nice bench back here. My camera is dead. This wouldn't be a good episode if I had been prepared for everything, right? So I think I'm going to take a little minute. We're going to clean some tools up. I'm going to charge the camera, and I will get back to you, and we're going to go over everything with the old Daytona here of what I did, what I broke, what I think you should do, and yeah, I'll be right back. Let me charge the camera because it's going to die. All right, well, things are straightened up around here a little bit. The camera has got more charge, so that's a plus, right? That's a plus. Let's talk about what happened to the Daytona here. And like I said, I will take 50% of the blame, but it's kind of a dumb design. So we hit, move you up over here a little bit closer, get you in here a little bit closer. We hit 5,000 miles on the bike, and I know they don't call for blah, blah, blah. In their manual, it calls for like 10,000 mile maintenance intervals. We're not doing that. I do about 3,000 miles on oil changes. Oil's cheap. Just put fresh oil in it. It takes 3 quarts. As a matter of fact, I changed this 1,000 miles ago. We got it apart this far. When I get everything back together, we're just going to change it again. It's already apart. Might as well. Oil's cheap. Like I said, change oil, keep the motor in good health. That's all we care about. But we hit 5,000 miles, and I wanted to just take the whole body off it. I want to strip it all down, clean in all the nooks and crannies really well, make sure we don't have any like rust spots, which I found a couple where there's a little bit of paint wearing through. Kind of, it's a metal frame, a steel frame. Like we got back here up on like these bolt holes. There's a little bit of rust, so we're gonna try to clean up that as we go. I got a paint marker. You get what I'm saying. I also wanted to go through. I wanted to check all the brake pads, front, rear. I want to do a really good look at the chain. I pulled out the side. I can't talk. The front sprocket cover. Pulled that off. We stripped every little bit of dirt and grease out of there. That's super clean now. I cleaned the chain really good when I gave it a bath last time. We'll probably give it another bath once it's all back together. I also, one of the other things I wanted to do was check the air filter, which I should grab the stock one. Yes, air filter. Oh, I almost just missed my chair. Might back you up a little bit. All right, we'll get you out there. So in the process of doing all this, I wanted to check the air filter, see how this was looking. Pretty dirty. If you can see that, this is actually the outside, and then this is the inner part of it. It kind of looks to me like I've gotten caught in a few pretty good rainstorms, and the intake to the air box is like it's right up in here, and then it just sucks it straight down, straight into this filter. It's kind of hard to see here and get up a little closer. It was the leading edges of these are kind of starting to fall apart a little bit. They're getting really fuzzy. There's a couple where it's just not, I don't like the way it looked. And down inside of it was just absolutely filled with dirt, bugs, grime. I don't know what prompted to get this all black up here. I really don't know. I can't think of anything. The whole inside of the filter forward part of the intake was clean. There was no dirt, there was no black, there was no nothing. So how this got dirty and oily is kind of beyond me. I haven't figured that out yet. You can kind of see a little bit how it's disformed. When I pulled it out of the bike, it kind of looked more, it had like 4 or 5 spots that were just like wide pulled apart, kind of like that. It looked like that when I pulled it out. I had kind of straightened up a little bit as I was going through and looking through all the different cracks and crevices. But I ran into a problem. I wanted to replace this. I couldn't find factory ones. I think the only one I found was on Triumph's website, and they wanted a tremendous amount of money for this stupid filter. Probably because it's got this fancy metal mesh on the back, so that way when it starts disintegrating from getting wet, it doesn't pull it into the motor and eat it. But what I did find was a DNA filter, so we don't need that one anymore. It's the DNA filter's already in there. I'll see maybe if I have a little bit of footage of that. We'll put that in. Out with the old, in with the new. Thank you, DNA. Here. But the DNA filter was cheaper than a stock one. It's got way bigger airflow throughout it. So I am a little worried because you're not able to tune these bikes currently. The ECU is not tunable. There's not a way to put an aftermarket ECU in here from what I found so far. So being that now I have a high flow filter as well as a full exhaust system, I'm a little worried. We're gonna see how this runs. But one thing I did do to help is I did put the baffle back in my TEC pipe, so that I went from like probably, I don't know, pretty good size hole like that down to quite a small one, which it's not gonna be as loud, it's not gonna sound as cool, but hopefully it keeps the motor and everything happy. I want to talk about one other thing that I wanted to do to this bike while it was this far apart was change the plugs. Triumph, why? You cannot, I don't think you can change the plugs in this motor without pulling the motor physically out of the frame. See that right there? That right there, I believe, is going to be your coil going down to your plug, which should end up, somewhere down around here. You have a nice tube down through the valve cover. Spark plug will be somewhere down in here. Problem with this is directly below the frame, which is this piece right here. Frame right here, big frame tube. You can kind of see, let me get that out of the way. All right, you can kind of see there's the frame rail right up in there, and it connects, and it's directly above that coil plug, or the coil, or whatever it's doing to the spark plug right there. I don't want to try and unbolt that because I don't think I'm going to be able to pull this up out of there. I really think you have to drop the front of the motor down out of the frame so you can get those plugs out. Ridiculous design. I mean, spark plugs should not be that difficult to change. And why they are, just one of those things that's just kind of not greatly thought out on this bike. I could be wrong, but I'm not going to go through the process of disconnecting all of the coolant hoses and all of the other stuff up in top of this motor to then go and try to pull a spark plug out and realize, oh, you can't because the frame rail's in the way. I'm going to take my best judge and say that you're not going to be able to pull that up out of there with as little room as they left you. So that sucks. Let's get into the fuel pump and how I broke that. Luckily, I just filled this too. Here is that wonderful piece that I broke. All right, we look right down here. Stay. This is the fuel pump sending unit. This little piece of plastic here goes right there, 90 degrees off of this. This is where it sends the fuel from the tank to the injection and all that and blah, blah, blah. The pump is up inside of this whole big unit. And I say whole big unit because they made this whole thing just one giant piece. So all of your connections, all of your plugs, it's all one unit. So if you break something, you gotta buy a whole new thing. This broke, and I will show you why in a second. I'm spilling gas everywhere. This here is your fuel line. You see it's got this little piece right here. That's where that little tube goes inside of there. All you got to do to release that is pull down on this, pinch the sides, you can pull it off of there. the problem I ran into with my system. This goes on that sending unit right about here, and it connects about here. Now, that fuel tank wraps down around here, so in order to get access to this to pull it off, you have to take the tank and flip it up some so you can get at it. Mine, for some reason, one of these little vent tubes here was over top of this the wrong way and snagged. So when I unbolted the front of the tank and went to rotate it up, it did not allow, let me put this back how it's supposed to be, it did not allow for this line to go from this position up to this position when you rotate the tank up to be able to disconnect it. My tank got about, say about this high up, and all I heard was snap. Because this was pinched down in here, as I lifted it up, it pulled the pressure on it and then didn't allow for this tube to move, and it snapped that fitting right off of the fuel pump housing, or the fuel pump sending unit, whatever it is, that giant one-piece thing. So, for all of you folks at home, if you're gonna check your air filter and rotate your tank up, do it very carefully, look underneath, make sure this fuel line hose has plenty of slack. I think I'm even going to, because like this hose also it's routed on top of it. I'm gonna take all of these vent tubes, which are pointless, useless. I'm gonna run all the vent tubes down underneath of everything when I assemble this back together. So that way this hose will have a ton of flex room. You should be able to rotate this tank 90 degrees to disconnect all of this stuff and then pull your tank off. You should not have to rotate it up a couple inches, fish your hands under there, which is very difficult because, like I said, the fuel tank kind of wraps down around here. So it's got little panels here on the side. So even when you rotate up a little bit, you don't have, if you've got like 2 inches up here, you might have a ½ inch back here to get your hand underneath there. So like I said, I only got my tank, say, sitting here to come up to about yay here, which it was still almost fully blocked here. I had no idea what happened when I heard the crack. I then like lifted it up and just seen fuel spewing out of the tube right here. So, yeah, that sucked. But I'm gonna blame Triumph for the way this thing was kind of assembled originally, because there was no way to disconnect that before it broke on me. Another thing I did too was swap out these grips, and we're gonna redo this one I think right now because it's still got, yeah, you can still flex it a little bit. It's still got a little bit of movement in there. I'm not a big fan of that. Swap these grips out. The stock ones were getting pretty worn pretty quickly. The left side over here, it's kind of like a mountain bike grip actually. It's like a lock-on style. So there's 2 locating screws that hold it up here, and then it's like in its own plastic tubing. It almost looks like another throttle tube. But then you unbolt that and it literally just slides right off. The throttle side, my word, did they have it's like the rubber grip and the plastic throttle tube was molded at once. That sucker did not want to come off of there. Not only is it fully adhered and glued on there, but like every ½ inch is a little plastic tab to keep the grip from sliding back and forth. That was a pain. I got blisters on my thumbs from trying to get that off of there. So if you plan on changing your grips on your Daytona 660, passenger side, pretty straightforward. It takes just a regular grip size. Throttle side, pain in the ass, set yourself aside like an hour. But the only problem that we kind of have, which this is a little strange, I don't know if you'll be able to see. Let me get you up nice and close, down up underneath here. Kind of on this, oh, okay, stop moving. On like down here on the bottom of the grip, it's kind of hard to see. Can you kind of see how it's got that like little dip in down there? You can see it right there, how it kind of dips in at the end. Down on this end is actually like hollow underneath of the clip-on tube. Kind of weird, hollow. See, the grip's not fully rounded right here, but I mean, that's not really a part your hands hit, so I'm not super worried about it. But what I did kind of mess up is when I put this on there, I was having a hell of a time getting this grip to slide in this tube. I threw a little bit of just soapy water on there, figured if I gave it a week while I'm waiting on the, the fuel pump to get here, that it would dry out and be fine. And it's pretty good, but there's still a little bit of movement here and there. So I think we're gonna pull this grip back off of there. We're gonna clean it out and try to get it back on there without any lubricants. Maybe I've seen some people use hairspray before, kind of lube it up, and then that becomes sticky. I don't know. We're gonna get it off first. We're gonna clean it, strip it clean, and then we'll go from there. So, yeah, first things first. I gotta cut my safety wire that I got on there, which might be a little challenging, but we got this. We got this. So nominal grips here have like actually a little spot up inside where when you take your safety wire, there's a little extra room to fold it over in there. Now, I've already put all this on there thinking that it was gonna dry up and stop moving, but she still got a little bit more movement than I would like. So, I mean, it's actually pretty good right there. A little bit of movement up on the inside. So I'm gonna try to get this off without damaging my grip, and yeah, let's see how this goes. Oh yeah, easy. Easy, easy, easy. The throttle side, I did use a little bit of water on there, but I'm guessing because it was on plastic, it just dried up really good. And it was also pretty rough because I had to clean that thing up with a bench grinder to get all the tabs and all the glue and all the crap off of there. So there's a pretty good mating surface for rubber to adhere onto that. But the metal side over here, I guess, did not want to cooperate. You gotta be careful too when you're putting the safety wire on your grips. You can put them on tight enough to actually cut through the grip. So you kind of got to feel out, you know, you want to get her tight, but not start cutting your grip. You can kind of see when it really indents the rubber. Like I said, these grips, if you can see that right there, we actually have pretty good grooves to put it in. There's also a third spot on the inside, which I didn't put one on before, but I think when I re-put these on, I might do 1, 2, 3 on this side, because this one is, yeah, you can see. I mean, we can turn that one still. It was a 4mm. Careful, because these are a very, very soft metal that they made these screws out of for some reason. Little trick from old Jake the Garden Snake showed me that if you take your air compressor with a little bit on there and you put it up in there, you should be able to kind of spread the grip apart and hopefully get it off easier. It did start to work. Worked really good. All right, I spent exactly 30 seconds looking this up on TikTok, and guy claimed it worked. So we got the 5X Mega Freeze unscented, long-lasting, extra hold. How do they market this shit? Like, how can you tell me this is 5 times longer lasting than like another one? Who's testing this, huh? But this is what we're using. A little bit of hairspray. And we're gonna try this out. So from what I've seen, we're gonna put a little nice coat on here, which this is nice and freshly cleaned. Oh, you know what? While it's apart, let me show you. Let me show you what I was talking about with that little hole in the bottom. Put you in here. Ready? Ready? We're going underneath. See that right there? There's like a little like cutout notch there, and I think that is for this bar end. I think we're doing some funky camera work, but I think that's for this. See, like there's a little pin right there that's holding this whole unit up in there. I think it's metal. I don't know. They feel pretty nice, but that's for the bar end. But now you can at least see what I was talking about. They're a nice little. That's a clutch. See, nice little notch right there. Little. If you don't use the factory like little tube that goes on there, and then you can kind of see there's a little screw hole there, one on the bottom, that locks down on the factory grip. If you don't use that and you want to try and use a set of aftermarket ones, because you don't want to spend $100 on Triumph grips. I don't blame you there, because I'm not doing that. Plus, these look cooler. They're red. The bike's red. It all matches. These feel way better than the stockers. So why? I don't know. Maybe in the future, we'll actually just swap these out for something different. I don't know. I wish they were a little bit lower. I wish they were like an inch lower. And I don't think that's an option to do. Not unless we got something funky that like came out, dropped down, and then went over. I don't know. We're not doing that much right now. We're just putting grips on. So we have hairspray. I'm gonna spray this down on there a little bit, and then we're going to slide the grip on. Hopefully, with the hairspray as lubricant, this will slide on better. And then we're gonna line it up with the other side, try to make the names even across. And then we'll put, I think we'll do 3 things of safety wire. We got a little notch. See, we got a notch in the outer side. We got that one right there, and then we got this one here. There's nowhere I can put one on this end, really, unless I just like put it on there and really dug it down. But I think, hopefully, with this 3, she'll know no more slidey. So let's try this out. Or am I gonna look like an idiot and some dude on TikTok fooled me? I don't know, but I'll report back to you with my findings. Okay, we got some hairspray on there. I'm gonna kind of rub this around a little bit. Unscented, really? It definitely has a scent. Okay, so. Oh God, it goes on so hard. Ah. Definitely, a little trick here. Do a little psh up on there, works great. If you're ever doing this, yeah, go get yourself an air blower, an air compressor. If you don't have any safety wire, this stuff is pretty cheap on Amazon. I think this is like $6 for this big old roll. You don't gotta go spend money on the fancy tools. All you need is get yourself a little pair of needle nose pliers and then a little pair of side cutters or dikes or whatever you want to call them. And that's all you really need. You don't need no fancy freaking tools. It's not how we do things here. We make things work with what we got. And I'll tell you what I got works just fine. Kind of put her on there and give yourself a little extra room to work with. That's what I found. I'm making a mess. We're gonna cut her there. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Let me quick cut all these to size, and then I'll kind of show you about the length that I was doing here. So you see, we got that little extra spot right there. That's where we're gonna try and keep our excess once it's all twisted together. So what I did earlier is we're gonna take this here. We're gonna start it by hand and do one little twist, kind of right where that is. So it's kind of like that. We got all this excess, but it's fine. We're gonna cut that off. And then you're gonna take your pliers here, and this is gonna be really hard to do with the camera directly in the way. But I'm gonna do this for you guys. Oh. All right, I gotta back you up a little bit, hold on. Now, the trick is you wanna pull down on the pliers as you're twisting it. That will help tighten it up around the top and the sides. If you just twist it, you're gonna put a lot of pressure down on the bottom side of it, but not so much on the top. So you're gonna pull down and then twist. And you don't gotta do a ton of twist. We're just gonna do, oh, damn it. Looks pretty darn good to me. She's locked on there pretty good. So like I said, we only need a couple twists, and then what we're gonna do, we're gonna come up in here, we're gonna cut pretty much right at that bottom twist. Careful, because when you cut these, sometimes these shoot down and they're very sharp. They will stab you in the finger. So grip up above where they are. You don't wanna send them flying across the shop. Cut them, voila. Okay, now we gotta do one more thing, because this right here, this little tab is very, very sharp, and that will cut you. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take our little pliers we have here, we're gonna use the side of this, and we're gonna bend that tab so it's up into the grip. No need to worry, I think we're gonna bend it forward. Or just kind of bend it whatever direction it feels like going. I kind of folded the grip up a little funny. That's fine. I'm gonna try to bend this actually backwards. We got a bit more room. Okay, so I'm gonna take the big flat spot down here. Oh, come on. All right, now that we got it up where it's kind of up there, I can still catch my thumb a little bit. I'm gonna take the pointier spot of my pliers and really force it up, deep up in the grip. Okay, now no matter what I do, even if I push my thumb up into there, I cannot actually catch my finger with where that is. Because force it up, deep up into that rubber, you're plenty safe. Sticking on there. Better than it was before, so I mean, that's a plus. The guy said in the video, up like a half hour, it should be fully cured. I don't know, we'll come back in a little bit, see if it's even stickier. I might not try to like wrench on it and turn it. I mean, you're not really putting a whole lot of pressure on it as you're riding anyway. You're not gripping and twisting. No, she's stuck. She's stuck good. All right, well, we're going to call that a win. I think for the sake of saving time in the future, I'm going to go ahead and throw the tail of the bike on, because I think once the fuel pump gets here, I can put that on. But the rest of the fairings in this bike kind of require the tank to be on before you can put anything else on. But I think I can put the tail on and not affect anything else, if I'm remembering right. Tail has 4 bolts on it, as well as 1 little push pin, which that goes way up in here. Kind of a pain in the ass to get to. It's all right. But we also got to put all of our turn signals and everything plugged in, even though mine don't work, but that's fine. I'm working on that. I think I found a fix for it. I just haven't fully figured it out yet, if that makes sense.
But who needs blinkers? You got hands. I'm turning left, I'm turning right. Or you just don't use them at all and you just go anyway. Cars don't even look at you. They don't care about bikes. Let's put this on. First thing first, I gotta run all my wires up through the side. I remember how I did this. This side up on there. Get that up on there. Make sure we got that up in there tight. Get that up in there, we're not pinching on anything. Then, this whole thing kind of slides down and locks in underneath. Like that. And then our locating tabs are in the back here.
Well, what is going on? We are back here at another day. You can see yesterday we kind of got all the things that I can do on the bike wrapped up currently. We're in the old Taurus here, the old SHO, cruising along. We got to go do some errands. The old show here, she's been a pretty good daily for the last couple of years. But unfortunately, this is kind of the only car that I have other than the bike right now. And driving something that's just plain Jane is kind of boring. I think that's kind of why I don't like it, because I've never done anything to this car. I've done absolutely nothing to it. I also really haven't given a lot of love. I hit a deer about 1.5 years ago. Didn't really do that much damage. It just kind of cracked the grill and the front bumper a little bit. You can barely tell you're like up on it like 10 feet away. But I think what we're gonna do is over the course of this following week, when we get the parts in, we're gonna get the bike wrapped up, put all back together. I think we're gonna start giving some love to the Taurus. I've been wanting kind of like a road trip car, you know, something that's not boring, something that gives you a little bit of, I don't know, pizzazz, a little entertainment as you're driving along. And I think this could be it. But with that said, I think we should go through and do some maintenance on everything first. I know the front struts in this car, I had replaced them at one point. They're kind of making a little bit of noise again now. I bought some real cheap Chinese Amazon ones, but they worked good for a while, being that they were a quarter of the price of what, you know, AutoZone wanted for them. I'll take it. If they last a couple years and you got to replace them again, that's fine. We also, I know, might have a boost leak. So I would like to put a boost gauge in the system somewhere, as well as maybe fix up the turbo piping a little bit. This car does, it's a twin turbo 3.5, so it makes, I don't know, somewhere around 400 horse stock. I don't know how much it's still got in there. Some of those horses may have escaped over the course of the last 160,000 miles. So I think what we'll do is we'll wrap the bike up this week. We'll get all that going. And then maybe the following week, we'll do some maintenance on the old Taurus before we start modifying things and making it fun. We'll go through, we'll change the spark plugs in her, we'll get a good look at those, probably new air filter. I don't really want to modify the power, per se, of the car. It's reliable, it is the daily, so I would like to not, you know, turn it up or put tuners and stuff like that on it, even though it'd be fun. It'd be fun to make more horsepower. I think we'll just kind of do some maintenance. We'll keep the drivetrain relatively stock and reliable. Being that we need struts on the front already, maybe we just do a full coilover conversion and lower this thing right down on the ground. Make her look cool. Make her maybe handle a little bit better. If we're gonna do that, I know the brakes in this car suck. It is a nearly 5,000 pound car and it does not stop. If you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and yeah, I don't know, do the whole YouTube thing. Peace out.